Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Volvo Christian. As always, we are starting inside of a bush in order to get some colors in life. But we can always admire all the beautiful autumn colors in the background here. Today's video are gonna be a real juicy one. This will be the part 2 of my XC comparison. Because 2 weeks ago, I was at the exact same location and compared this XC60 versus a XC40. And today we're adding the last part of the X Factor with the XC90. Now it's also 2 cars on the SPA platform, so scalable product architecture. When we compare the XC60 versus XC40, then it was SPA versus CMA. But now it's the 2 X's on the SPA. And here's the real juicy parts, because there's a huge difference when you step over in the 90 series, especially for the interior. And today we're gonna take a closer look at all the juicy parts when you jump from 60 to 90. But we can just start with some dry facts. Both of these cars are press cars from Volvo Car Norway. I have had this one for 2 weeks and I will deliver it back now, and I've just picked up this XC90. Both of these cars are press cars. If we start with the XC60 as a model year 23, Thunder Grey, Recharge T6 all-wheel drive. It's in the dark theme in the ultimate spec, running on 20-inch alloys, wrapped with winter tires. And the XC90 are in the new color Bright Dusk, pretty classy color. That's a Recharge T8 all-wheel drive, also in the dark theme, so the R design, and also ultimate spec. So 2 press cars from Volvo Car Norway. Before we kick off the comparison, we can just shortly look at the design and the difference in appearance. When I look at these now side by side, the XC60 falls slightly between the chairs, so I'm not sure what the English word I'm looking for is. You see, it's like it's almost slightly modest and tries to excuse itself. I'm sorry, can I park here? Just excuse me, don't look at me. While the XC90 on the other hand, with its beefy appearance, lowered with the air suspension, that's more like I'm gonna park here. Much more powerful stance, strong character, attitude. And the XC60 is, I'm sorry, poor little me. But that's just my opinion. We can also look at one thing I'm not a fan of with the facelift that XC60 got, and that's this part here. They redesigned this one for the facelift. I preferred it the way it was before on the XC60, but you see, here's the same part, and the XC90 got the facelift first, so I think this was like a copy paste. That's quite a shame, because I think they should just went for the character that the XC60 had before the facelift. Much stronger XC60 character. Now it's trying to be something that is not. But that's just my opinion. Just look at this XC90. Oh, looks so damn good, even in this modest spec. But let's start with the technical details of these 2 cars. We can start with the length. So the XC60 are 4 meters and 68 centimeters. And that was a bump from the 444 on the XC40. So 468. The XC90 on the other hand are 495. So that's a big jump. And some of it are down to the extended wheelbase. The XC60 has a wheelbase on 2 meters and 86, and the XC90 has a wheelbase on 2 meters and 98. So 12 centimeters extra on the wheelbase. And you will notice that on uneven surfaces. If the XC60 are like a speedboat, then the XC90 are the cruise ship, especially if you have the air suspension. If we compare ground clearance, the XC60 has 21 centimeters, but the XC90 has 23. But you see now it's lowered because it's in the park mode, so it crunches down, but you can also lift it quite much with the air. Another aspect are the wading depth, so how high water you can drive through with these two cars. The XC40 can drive through 40 centimeters of water at walking pace speed, and the XC90 can go through 45 centimeters, so just slightly more. So that was the exterior dimensions. I can also put in the width and the height difference if you're interested in that. And now let's jump into the storage. I will try to do this video in one go, so you just have to excuse me if I misspeak or something. So here we have the luggage area of the XC60. In the plug-in hybrid, so the recharge version, this is stated to 468 liters, at least up to the window point here. So 468. If we compare that to its bigger brother, this is stated to 640 liters, and also up. But you can already see the much more space available over compared to the XC60. So even if it's just 640, if you put in the cargo net or the steel grid, you can really utilize the XC90's strength. Here you can see the 6th and the 7th seat. If you take these seats up, and the storage capacity will decrease to 315 or 314 liters. It's around that. We also have a tiny storage area under here in both cars for charging cables. But here's the big benefit with the XC90. 7-seat options available. You see the XC60 started. Just gonna shut that one off, so I won't bother anyone. It's getting cold outside, so, and the battery are out. I haven't charged it tonight. So that was the luggage areas, and also a little glance at the 6th and 7th seat. Now it's time to close up this one as well. Didn't mention it in the XC90, but you see here the rear seats in the 60 series are 60-40, and in the XC90, and only XC90, it's 40-20-40. This is the only Volvo to date, this for the new generation, that offers 40-20-40. I'm not sure what the XC90 will get, but I hope it will get this type. Much more practical. But now let's jump into the interior. Maybe we should start in the XC60. So I will just get around here. So here's the XC60. Pretty nice layout. I'm a huge fan of the XC60 interior and the driving position. Awesome seats in the 60 series and up with electric cushion extension. This is the sport seat, so it has pretty massive side bolsters here and also on the backrest here. Nice center console. Here we have the Harman Kardon stereo. We have the leather wrapped dashboard. Pretty nice and elevates the premium sensation. If we now just go around to the XC90 and get a little direct comparison. And just look at this. This is next level luxury. Here we have another seat. This is also available in the 60 series. This is the comfort seat that offers ventilation and massage. So much lower and not so hard side bolsters for the cushion. And these side bolsters can also be adjusted in the center screen with air to get just the amount of support you need. Beautiful door inlays. If I try to open up the 60 door at the same time, let's see if we can do this. 60 and not banging the doors. Now we can really start to look at the differences. So this is the ultimate spec of the XC60. You see we have the chrome grab handle, the lock buttons, but there's no decor inlays in the door. Jumping over in the 90 series, you can see what you get when you're jumping up a series. You get this beautiful decor inlays that stretches from the dashboard and the center console and all over the doors. These leather piece are optional. You get that when you go for the leather wrapped dashboard. Also the same as you get in the XC60, leather wrapped dashboard. But in the 90 series, it stretches over in the doors. So you see here, there's a huge difference. Especially if you go for the leather wrapped dashboard, because then you get it also on the doors. In the 60 series, you just have this plastic, or I don't know what material. It doesn't feel so premium as in the 90 series. Another thing that is actually important to me, I'll just remove my sunglasses, are these sun visors. In the 60 series, this is just plastic. Plastic, fantastic. It's actually better now than it was before, because on my own XC60, this line here, this edge, was actually quite sharp. It wasn't as polished as it is now, so at least it's better, but it's still plastic. In an XC60, that's priced at about 1 million kroners. However, if you are jumping into the 90 series, you won't get bothered with plastic on the sun visors. Here it's sweet and soft fabric. And the sensation or the tactical feeling you get when you pull this down every time are much more premium. Even the sound it makes. This is just the small touches that you get when you go for a 90 series. In my XC90 model 17, I also upgraded to the nubuck headlining. And if you went for the nubuck headlining, this would be wrapped in leather. Also, the grab handles would be in leather. Sadly now, Volvo have plastic grab handles in the 90 series. But at least this one are still fabric. Really premium sensation when you use the sun visor. Another thing that's another element are also regards to noise insulation. The 90 series offers better noise insulation than the 60 series. But when I now open the rear doors, let's see if I can do this. All 4 doors open. You see it continues also in the rear doors. Versus the XC60, quite simple, nothing to mention here. When you go for the Harman Kardon, you would only get this black unmarked. If we don't have any power, but you can check the front doors, you get a Harman Kardon grid. Here in the rear doors, you won't get anything. However, if you spec for the Bowers and Wilkins stereo, you will get the same sweet grid in the rear doors as you have in the front doors. But just hold on to this while we jump over in the 90. It's just a totally different level. The same decor inlay stretches over in the rear doors as standard. This is then the optional that's connected to the leather-wrapped dashboard. And we also have integrated sun curtain. That's a sweet 90 option. And then we come to the real juicy part, the rear seat. And this is only for XC90, so this won't be relevant for V90 and S90. In the XC90, there's 3 individual seats, and all can be moved in length, and you can also tilt the backrest. Now I have tilted this one, and this is in the more upright position, so you see the difference you get when you tilt the seat. And this, and this seat over here are moved all the way forward, and this is all the way back. So you see the difference you get. So imagine if you want to utilize the luggage area to the fullest, you can just move the whole seat bench here forward. Or for more space to the passengers, move it all the way back. The XC90 are also the only plug-in hybrid that offers the 4-zone climate. So here you can have an individual climate zone for your rear seat passengers. That's not available in the other SPA cars, at least for the plug-in hybrids. That has to do with the battery placement. But you still have heated seats. So here we see the bench, one bench instead of individual seats. Spacious enough, but it's much more practical with the XC90. Just open this one again. And here we have, if I just pull this slightly away, so you can also glance slightly at the 6th and 7th seat. So we see it's in the interior we find the biggest differences between these two cars. Just the attention of details. Just want to jump in for some heat. The car is active. Since this is a Molia 23, we have the same Android infotainment. I won't touch upon that because that's the same in both cars. But you see this gorgeous leather all over the dash and this decor inlay. Really beautiful. So, what is your favorite? Also depends on what you need, obviously. If you don't need the additional space or the 7th seat, then this maybe is not for you. But you can compare most of these elements with the S90 and also the V90, except the rear seat, 6th and 7th, and the individual 2nd row seats. But all the other elements are comparable with the V90 versus V60. It will be actually the same, 60 versus 90. So the highlights for me are the door inlays. The sun visors is also better insulated against noise, and obviously with a bigger car, longer car, extended wheelbase, you get the additional riding comfort. As I said earlier in the video, just have to turn on the lights in this 60. Racing boat versus cruise ship, especially for the XC range. The XC90 are definitely the cruise ship. If we compare V60 versus V90, I won't exactly call the V90 a cruise ship, but one is for sportiness and one is for relaxed smoothness and comfort. Two different approaches. Luxury versus sportiness. Pay more and get more. At least if you want and need. Just look at this. Oh, I'm gonna love my 2 weeks with this one. Oh, air suspension, Bowers & Wilkins, and just look at this. Oh my god, it looks so gorgeous. What do you think about this new bright dusk? Well, I think it's time to wrap it up. I mentioned all the highlights, at least for me, in the 60 versus 90. You see it's both exterior changes, you jump up in size, and also you jump up in luxury for the interior, at least if you spec it. If you don't spec the leather wrap dashboard, yeah, you're gonna skip that out also on the doors. But I think that was everything I wanted to talk about in today's video. If I won't suddenly think of something else, I just thought of one additional thing I wanted to mention for you in this comparison. Obviously after I stopped recording, so I have to cut in this part, and that's regards to the light. In Volvo's light hierarchy, the XC90 are on top of the food chain, and then there's a following staircase from the XC90 through the S and V90, following through the 60 series, and then down to XC40. That's on bottom. At least it was so before Volvo introduced the pixel LEDs, and that has then given a little bump to the XC40, so it's actually slightly better than the V60, at least in complexity. But if we look more in general, 60 versus 90, you get much better lights with the 90 series. You can maybe also see that if you just get real close here. You see the complexity and the number of reflectors. This is stronger and better compared to the 60 series. So that's another benefit you get when you jump up to the 90 series. So the S and V90 will have better lights than the XC60, and the XC90 will have better lights than the S and V90. So there's a little hierarchy going on here. And these lights are actually very good. I'm a huge fan of the 90 series lights, but I always want more, so that's why I fitted a light bar just under here on my S90 Vision X light bar, because I really want more. The more the better. So that was the last thing I wanted to mention before jumping back to the original video of some cars. Now I think I have said everything that is worth mentioning. Obviously a bigger car can tow slightly more, but I think we're gonna wrap it up here. And as always, I really appreciate every like, comment, and if you consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It really helps me out a lot to get more access to press cars and do more videos and reviews like this. And now I will jump in the XC90 and take it for a spin and grab some pictures and such. And then tomorrow I will be heading back to Bergen for the last time, since I'm actually moving to Oslo in just a few days. So with that out of the way, we're gonna end it here. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye bye.